Hello there, people of the internet. My name is Udo Jagero, and this is Dialogues Jagero. Today, I am in the studio with a gentleman that I really looked up to. Those days, I was in college at 2004, and one of the things that we used to read was the pullout in the Saturday magazine. And the gentleman that was there, he was far away from me at the time. I couldn't, however much I stretched, I could not reach him. I didn't know where he lived. I didn't know where he worked from. I thought that he would be at the Nation, Nation House at the time. I don't know whether it was still there. It was there at the time in 2000.
Twin Towers, huh?
Yeah, Twin Towers, yeah.
It was there.
But I couldn't reach him. So at some point, obviously, he disappeared, but not that way, you know. My guest today is Oyunga Pala. Oyunga Pala is one of Kenya's most thoughtful voices, a journalist, a satirist, and now author whose pen has chronicled the shifting soul of modern manhood. For over a decade, he held up a mirror to Kenyan society through his famous Manto column in the Saturday Nation, blending humor, honesty, and cultural critique to explore what it means to be a man in a changing world. So today, after years of essays and columns, Pala turned inward with his book, Strength and Sorrow. I had a peek at it, and I saw a hauntingly beautiful memoir, born from the loss of his sister. In it, he walks through grief with the same fearless curiosity that once defined his social commentary, transforming sorrow into strength and personal pain into a collective meditation of life, death, and remembrance. In that book, Strength of Sorrow, Pala's voice softens from satire to soul, a writer who has traded the sharpness of wit for the wisdom of experience, reminding that to confront loss is to rediscover life itself. So, thank you very much, Mr. Oyunga. How are you doing?
Thank you. That's a beautiful introduction. Just send me that.
I should send you that.
I could use it around.
I will send you something. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Yeah. How is life since Mantok, sort of?
It's been good, It's been growth. It's been growing. I think I look back and I think my contribution is worthy. There's a lot of writers that have come up in the wake. The space is occupied nicely. So I'm happy that I opened that door.
Yeah. Those days, when you remember those days when you, I was asking some of the Gen Zs that do not know you, per se. Mm-hmm. Who was Oyunga Pala at the time?
I started out as a student, actually. I started writing as a student. I was at University of Nairobi. I was doing a degree in Anthropology.
Anthropology?
Which nobody knows about, but it's the reason why I was able to then kind of have a more holistic approach to my writing. And then I went just basically into freelance. I got into a lot of magazine editing. At the time, I used to do a magazine known as Sports Monthly. It was a little small rag that most people never saw outside of the sporting industry. But I was largely writing. I basically, after college, I just got into writing almost full-time while waiting for a real job. Now that irony of your hustle, you do something as you hope to get the office job, and it never happens. So I was dabbling between writing columns, writing for magazines, magazine editing, and then around 2003, I jumped into radio. I had a stint with Capital FM for about a year, and then went back into magazines. By about 2007, I was doing a magazine known as Adam. You might have seen Adam.
Yes,
no? Yeah.
I remember Adams.
Okay.
It was what I remember about Adams was it was a beautiful magazine.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, it was a good time. We had a good run. We profiled some men in really nice ways, expanded what it meant to be, the kind of the cosmopolitan of Nairobi. So we did that for a bit, and then at some point I just sort of settled into my writing.
Okay.
And I've been writing and editing since. Yeah.
I asked you, off the set, whether you consider yourself a model of men, a role model, and you said no.
Yeah, no. The first rule of being a role model is never to claim you're a role model. It's other people to say, "Oh, he's a role model."
Yeah, because I have something that I want to read for you here, and probably you'll know who wrote it. Okay. Oyunga Pala taught us how to be men, and then all of a sudden he disappeared without a trace. I am told that after 11 years, he said goodbye and introduced the current blogosphere sensation to Jackson Billy, Biko, alas Biko Zulu. But that's not what I want. That's not where I want to start. If one could marry a talent, then I would put a ring on Pala's writing skills.
Oh.
And for years, I cast the weekends that I couldn't catch Pala's column. Here, he talked to us men about women. And it's amazing how he bludgeoned my infant ideology about women using gonzo humor and sharp satire. We grew up imbibing the claptrap from Disney World, and our perceptions were so naive that we believed that we could be knights in shining armors and seduce a princess using glass stilettos and big shiny rock.
That's not Biko, is it?
No, that's not Biko.
It doesn't sound like Biko.
Yeah, it doesn't. You said it doesn't sound like Biko.
Biko. Yeah, because Biko has a bit of a, because of kind of like his humor is very particular.
Yeah. Whose humor is this?
I'm not quite sure. I'm trying to.
Because it's somebody that interviewed you.
Okay.
That's Magunga Williams.
Oh, the Magunga.
Yes.
Geez, I haven't seen him in a long time.
You haven't seen him in a long time.
He's been dressing very well lately.
Yeah. He's an Instagram guy.
Magunga. That's what he's called him. Huh?
Yeah, Magunga. Yes, the double M.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
So you are a role model.
Oh, good to know, man. Yeah. I mean, I say thank you. That's the most you could do, huh? Yeah, because, yeah.
But how influential were you? Because right now we have Jacob Elliott. Right now we have Silas Nyanchwani. Men who write. And they write a particular way. They're not writing for columns. They're just writing big books about women. And they're writing about simps.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, who I just found out about like almost 2 years ago. I had no idea what a simp was.
Really?
At the time, I didn't know what it meant at all. Until I started seeing it appearing all over social. I was like, okay, what category of man is this?
So then I want to go back to your words then and ask you about it. You say, and this is you speaking with the Wandia Njoya, you say that at the time there were two men. I don't know whether you still believe that even right now we have got two men. The man that is prosperous and doing something great for himself, and then the other man that is a failure. Then we do not have one between. Yeah. Do you think that is the state in which we are even today?
In a way, I say in the state in which we are defined.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's the job of a man to basically choose his place. But it's the state in which we're defined. So society looks at us in a very, it's almost like the spectrum is very narrow. So you're either successful or you're a failure. And that's pretty much where most people sit, you know. And until you kind of do your own internal interrogation and find your place in this spectrum, you'll tend to be judged by that societal pendulum of uko sawa or you haven't made it. And that's a lot of guys get stuck in that obsession. Yeah. So that's what I was trying to challenge, basically.
Yeah. But then do the men know, as a man, do you think, even when you are writing and people, because when you are writing, people are sending you a lot of messages, a lot of emails and talking with you. Did you sense that in a man, that if this man that is talking to me is talking to me as a failure, this other man is talking to me as a prosperous man?
No, not really, you know, because how, you know, like, as a man, you know men. You know, so I never caught up on the exterior. And then you see, a man is not like a single story. So like a guy could be like a success materially. Put the guy next to a woman to talk, he can't.
Yeah.
There's another guy who could be beautiful with language and stuff, you know. Put the guy next into like a business prospect, he's useless. You know, so there's this complexity of men. And what I was trying to challenge was this idea that men can only be one of two things.
Yes.
You know, and that's what they're trying to like break the box and be more than what society is insisting you can only be. That's always been my kind of, I guess, messaging. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to go back a little bit to your story a little bit. Where did you grow up, Oyunga Pala? Did you grow up in town? Did you grow up in the village? And then how did you get into anthropology at the university? And then probably the start of your writing journey. I don't want to interrupt. I just want you to give me that story.
Okay. So I grew up in. I'm born in Kisumu. But my dad used to be a hospital administrator. So he moved around a lot, you know. So we started off in, I think, Kakamega, probably 2 years, and then Nakuru, but we're moving into Nairobi around 1978. So I pretty much started my childhood in Nairobi, 1978, and we lived around the Kilimani area. So I went to a school known as Kilimani Primary. You know, the the one on Agwin's Kodek. And so for the bunch of it, you could say I'm a Nairobi guy, you know. We are what we used to be called in the old days, Wababi. Yeah. So I did Nairobi until about, I was in Kilimani until about, 86, 87. And then my dad retired. And and my dad was one of those guys straight to shags. And we had all through it, like every holidays would go shags. So I had the fortune of being a Nairobi guy who always went to the village. So every holiday I would go shags. So I kind of had a nice balance, in a way that now, especially in hindsight, I look back and I think, okay, my dad, that was some really good foundational work. So in 87, we moved back shags, and my father lives in the village, my mother lives in Kisumu, and we pretty much just start to become shags people, you know. So I do the quick readjustment, and my dad moved from being an administrator to just straight out farming. And so, you know, as we're a family of 6, between me and my elder sister is 13 years. So me and my brother were the ones who were left in the village. So we started operating the village. I joined a school in Kisumu known as Shah. And I do, I think, part of class 7 and class 8. So I finished in Shah, then I do pretty well, but I can't get a high school. So we start off with Kisumu Boys. Kisumu Boys is a day school, you know, and all the nonsense that happens around bus stop.
Yeah.
You know Kisumu, huh?
Yeah.
And I'm quickly shipped off to a place known as Kanga.
Kanga Boys.
Yeah, Kanga Boys, which was in South Nyanza of the time, and very near Awendo, Rongo, Awendo area. And I'm there for a bit, but about that time is when my father passes. And that's when really the unraveling starts, you know, because I was from a student who was pretty much, you know, upright. I'm considered now a little bit of an angry guy, you know, just because I got involved in a school riot, which by my times I think was very democratic in the way how we approach it. Even now I think about it, it was like a proper mandamano by those standards. You know, we didn't break any glass at the time when schools were being burnt down. We kept it even. But you know how school administrations work in the day, you know. They catch the ringleaders, you really have no voice. And I found myself expelled in Form 2. So Form 2...
So this is just after your father passed?
After my father passed. About the next year actually, after my father passed. I was supposed to be going to Form 2 going into Form 3. So I find myself expelled, and my mother doesn't know what to do with me, you know. So luckily I have a bigger brother, who I write about in the book, the guy called Oti. And Oti just says, hey, come over. And he's staying in Riyadh. So for about 1 year, I'm out of school. And I'm basically, Oti just happens to have had his firstborn, who is also in the book, a guy who's named after my father, Henry Odhiambo, Didi we call him. And so pretty much I just started hanging around Kisumu and, you know, helping around the house, you know, pretty much for a year. Once in a while going shags, my mother's like, this one is a lost cause. But she keeps looking. And so at the time she used to work for the Central Bank in Eldoret, right? And she found one of her friends kind of told her, not so like, can you find a school, Yani? Just find something for him. So they found a school for me in a place called Lelboynet, you know, which is in Elgeyo Marakwet, near a place called Kaptagat and Chepkorio. So I'd had to repeat a class now, you know. So I find myself going back one class because I lost a year of school. I find myself going back one class, and I'm back in Form 3 in a place called Lelboynet Secondary School. And Lelboynet is, I mean, now we look back and we're like, wow, thank God for Lelboynet. But then it was basic.
Yeah.
You know, there was nothing going on in that school. It was like basic. But I show up there, and it's pretty much a rural school. You know, you're a Tao guy, and there's a quick adjustment. Luckily for me,
boarding.
Yeah, it's a boarding school, you know. But it's those kind of boarding schools where on the weekends, guys just disappear. You know, those kind of, one side of school doesn't really have a fence. You know, guys just chomoka. You know, the kind of school where sometimes you have fellow students who planting pyrethrum, and they have such big farms that they get pyrethrum bonuses. So you guys can chuck off on a weekend, you're going to weed a farm. That kind of school, you know that? Yeah. So it was very different from anything I'd known, you know. I'm finding guys who are paying school fees with their farm produce. A guy comes with jugu, like for a couple of sacks, he pays. People are earning money in terms of cows and, you know, milk. So there's a bit of a culture shock for me. Like, so I was finding men, but not in the way I defined men. You know what I mean? People were in charge of their homesteads, you know, they were earning incomes, but they were in school. But it ends up being a really good experience for me largely because we were kind of almost self-regulated in that school. You know, like there were teachers, but we're kind of managing our affairs. It's like we were treated like basically adults. A typical example is that there was no drama club in that school, you know.
Yeah.
So I started one and like literally like wrote the play and found a class and we started acting and we acted until we got into the district championships and we worked our way down to the provincials. And I remember going all the way to Nakuru. No teacher unsupervised, just a bunch of us with a guy called Chebi. Used to have one of those matriz where you look familiar. You know the ones where you look at each other, it says you look familiar. And we went all the way to Nyanyuki and we had a really good excursion. No teachers, just students.
No teachers accompanied you
No
guys?
teachers accompanied us. That's kind of that's how the school was. You know, so it was a really good experience. And the camaraderie of the other students was really tight. So by the time we ended up finishing in Form 4, in spite the kind of the Spartanness of the school, I ended up in University of Nairobi. You know, so I ended up in University of Nairobi, and those are the days when you'd have to wait 2 years before you join university. You know?
Yeah.
Like, because I finished in 93, I don't join university until the end of 95, going into 96, literally. You know, that's when I'm
Why
joining.
was the wait though for?
Because there'd be riots, this is the multi-party agitation time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they would shut down, and then there was the mix between the parallel and so the intakes were really taking time, and you had to wait. And when you get an application, then you just wait, and you'd be waiting for almost like 2 years before you went to college. And so I ended up in University of Nairobi, and at the time I really don't know what to do, you know, and so I look around for something to do like in the arts, because I knew definitely I was not a science guy. Literature was not even in my thinking. So I do anthropology largely just because, why not? Like it wasn't like thought through. It wasn't. I didn't sit down with people and say, okay, why not? I just thought, okay, this seems like an interesting subject. It looks like it can be holistic. The anthropology learning in itself in college I found quite disappointing, in a sense that we were being taught to be anthropologists like in the vein of a colonialist, like, you know. So we're using the exact same model. You know, anthropology. The model of anthropology is basically, as the colonies were being created, you would send off these humanists who would come and look at the totality of a society, you know, its culture, its rituals, all of that, put it down, put it together, which is what basically the colonialists were using to understand the native.
So basically profiling a people.
Exactly, you know, but really more than profiling, like literally breaking down, understanding their makeup in order to, from the matrix of control. And anthropology is still being taught in that mode. So we're being taught as though we are the native. You know, it's not that the irony of it, you know? We're still talking about ourselves through the lens of the European. So I found a disconnect, though I couldn't quite put a finger to it at the time. But luckily, somewhere in between, I started doing my own interrogation of what anthropology is. And I realized, anthropology is literally the totality of a society. You know, you look at everything from their eating to their habits to their behaviors, and that understanding is what translates into the column. Because then I started looking at the Kenyan society through the lens of the man, but what I was calling at the time, the modern man.
Okay.
Which is what I was kind of growing into at the time. Yeah.
Okay. And then you go through it though. You don't like it, but you go through it to the end.
Yeah.
And then at some point you get in contact with the nation. How does it happen?
Accidental, purely accidental. I write about it a little bit. Purely accidental. At the time I'm hustling in college. You have a side gig as a gym instructor. You know? Gym, yeah.
Okay.
Gym instructor. I was a body those days. You can tell now.
Was this like a modern gym or those?
That's a proper gym. It was not. Those the other gym. There's the Chumbe gym.
Yes.
Chumbereru gym.
Yeah.
And then this was a place called Nautilus. It was actually one of the most modern gyms in the country at the time. It used to be on Mombasa Road, Davis and Shatliff.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, and then the owners were the Rick, what do you call it, Tennis Academy, Davis Tennis Academy. Those were the owners, you know, legacy family for tennis. The owner is a guy called Rick Davis, old kind of Mzungu family that has been here forever. Yeah. So I end up in this gym purely accidentally because there's a friend of mine who used to try out in this gym. And I go there and just introduce myself to Rick. And I said, this is who I am. I play rugby. I think I'm a fit guy. I think I would be useful here. And to my surprise, Rick gives me a gig. Of course, the pay was, entry-level pay. But I'm in a gym, like a proper gym, like with proper, big names at the time, People like Rachir used to come to that gym, Musimi of Carnivore, a guy. It's a lot of kind of like high-profile people. So I entered the gym.
So like a golf club.
Yeah, like almost, but like, it's one of those like a members gym, where, it costs money to be. It had a sauna kind of gym, like it was a proper gym. So I joined that at the time, but purely because I know nothing about fitness. Luckily for me that Rick had a whole stack of books, like fitness books, that he just sit literally in his office. And I just literally took those books and educated myself about fitness. And that's kind of then what expands my understanding of fitness. And then I start writing about it. And how the writing starts is very accidental. I'm in the gym one day, and there's a guy called Bill O'Carroll, who ends up becoming a major politician, by the way. And I'm explaining to Bill O'Carroll the whole concept of spot reduction. You want to lose your pot. It doesn't matter how many sit-ups it's not going to go. Forget about this thing. If you can't, you'll do 100 sit-ups, it won't go, Sometimes you tell them it has to be holistic. Fast in, last out, So you lose parts, weight in other parts before the stomach goes. And it was like a light bulb moment for Bill O'Carroll. And he says, dude, this stuff has to be written down. You need to write this thing down and take it to the nation. An instruction there. So without thinking, I just go, back to campus. Those days we used to use typewriters. You first of all write.
There was no cyber cafe at the moment?
No, not yet. They were just coming in. So those are the days of dial-up. Remember the dial-up? Yeah, So you write. You first of all write in longhand, then type it carefully, and then take your papers to Nation. Now I don't know anybody at Nation, so I'm coming free fall. Of course, I start with the sales department downstairs. Guys are just looking at me and say, try upstairs. And I wander upstairs, and I bump into a guy called Mundia Mushiri.
Okay.
And Mundia just looks at me and says, "What's your story?" And I said, "I'm a student at the university. I've started doing fitness. I think the wellness industry, I make a whole pitch about the wellness industry is coming, gyms are coming, guys are getting into fitness, look at my stuff." And I leave the copies there. I said, just leave them there. And he continues to do what he was doing. And for about a month, I get no response.
You check the papers?
No, those days you couldn't check the paper. I wasn't checking because I didn't even think I was going to be published. But those days what we used to do is we used to leave a number. We used to have a number on a phone booth that was in the university. So you'd leave a number pretending that's, how do you reach? You leave a number. And then depending on the guys who are around Hall 4 in the University of Nairobi, somebody would pick it up and say, "Hey, Oyunga Nasimu." So somebody called, and because there used to be a barber next to them, and he told me, "Oyunga Nasimu." And then I check, and the guy says, "Check the paper and bring me something again." I go check the paper, and there's a really small, the radio kilowatts. Ever seen radio kilowatts?
Yeah.
There's a really small, I even remember, less than 400 words. And I'm in the paper. I even remember the actual article, how do you, can you get HIV in a gym through sweat? That's what I'd written about, This is the HIV era, and everybody's kind of concerned.
Yeah.
And then Munde just starts giving me work. He just keeps testing me. And it moves from a fitness, what is like fitness contributions, and then slowly he starts to give me features. And once he starts to give me features, things change. And then I become a regular writer. And so I'm writing features once in a while, and I'm also writing the fitness columns. And then one day I'm taking the fitness columns to this. Now we have come now to the days of discs. Huh? You go to a cyber cafe, you write, you put it on a disc, you walk to Nation.
The black one,
yeah.
with a silver.
1.4 MB.
Yeah, 1.4 MB. Yeah. These days, one episode is 200 GB.
Yeah, I know, man.
Yeah.
So you go, you put it in the slot, and now the editors have changed. The editor was somebody called Rhoda Orengo.
Okay.
Yeah. And Orengo looks at me and says, "Oyunga, aren't you involved in rugby and everything? Give me something about you, your women and men. Write me something." And I write something, and that's how that journey starts.
Okay.
Yeah.
You keep saying accidental, but I keep going back to when you are expelled. Your father dies, and then you are expelled, and then you live with your brother. He's got a young kid.
Yeah.
Within the 1 year, what are some of the things that are going on in your mind? Because in my head, I'm thinking, this guy is getting something that I can move and I can get what I want. Because then your mother, who is working at Central Bank, gets to know of a school that you can join. And then you get out of your comfort zone and go all the way into Rift Valley to join this school.
Yeah.
And then after that, you go and study anthropology. And then from anthropology, you walk into a gym. You keep saying you walk into these things, but for somebody who is listening to you, what is your belief system at this moment about things that you can get in life?
I mean, you're young. You're in your 20s. Your 20s, you really have one obsession. You've got to succeed. You can't let your mother down again. It's a really simple agenda, like I don't want to be a failure. I need to, irrespective of what's happening, I need to succeed. So for everything that you're getting involved with, you're completely applying yourself. But here's the irony, because I keep on thinking there's something better. Yeah. I keep, even at the time when I'm writing, quote unquote, successfully, I'm still thinking, no, I need to get like a real gig. Like I need to get a real job, And so I was always kind of, for a long time, chasing kind of what would be a definition of what is success. And success for the time then represented what was a permanent job, because when you come out of campus, there's a whole group of guys who get swept in by the corporate, not the whole guys who get caught up by Deloitte, and suddenly their lives just seem to form. Suddenly they've got company cars, they seem to have set careers, they're on a track. Those of us in kind of the hustle mode, like doing like freelance stuff, especially in the arts, we're not even considered anything. It's not even considered a serious profession.
Yeah.
And there were not too many models at the time. The only people we knew who were like making proper a living off the arts were working for the newspapers. And I wasn't employed by the newspapers. So I call it accidental in a sense of that, in hindsight, it does look quite thought out.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, there's an opportunity, I'm going for it. I'm not stopping. I don't know anything, I'm going to learn. Yeah. So that was always my attitude. I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn. And it has served me really well in my life.
Yeah, well, you're looking at your 20s.
Yeah.
Okay? And then, I don't know how old you are right now.
I'm 51 now.
51 right now. And so, because if you are the guy at the gym Rick, okay? And you are the guy at Nation, and picture yourself, Oyunga Pala at the time, coming into the office. What do you, you're trying to apply yourself. But for example, yourself, if you're now talking to the young Oyunga Pala then, what do you think Rick was seeing? What do you think the guy at Nation was saying? Because he told you to put it down. Yeah. And Rick told you, do something. What were they seeing in you? Were they seeing some fire?
I suppose there was some hunger. Yeah, I was a really, I've always been eager guy, eager in the sense of like, when I put my mind on something, I apply myself. And I didn't take no too easily. I was not a guy you kind of dissuaded it very quickly, especially, your opinion didn't matter. Because I remembered already what happens is when you've been expelled quite early, and then you make it back to campus from a school where everybody thought, there's a kind of an internal confidence that drives you. But trust me, it took me a very long time to realize what it was. I didn't feel it at the time. I always felt that, I had to try. But I suppose my whole makeup was always, I came across as very confident, and that kind of served me well, because I would always say, this is what I want. And then I had a way to kind of explain my situation. I could make a case for something, like I made a case for fitness to an editor, and who at the time had never heard of, in the same way I'm trying to make a case for grief.
Yes.
At this time, that's always my thing. I always made a case for something, and if I was convinced, irrespective of whether you understood or not, I would be like, "This is my case." And I suppose that might have been the difference. They thought, okay, this guy is rather confident about what he wants. Huh? Yeah.
The payment, was it good at the gym?
Oh no, that was pocket money. That wasn't any. Rick.
Even at the day standard. At those days,
things changed.
Okay.
In the beginning, entry level, something very interesting happened in the beginning. Entry level, of course, God, the standard. I'm in Nation. I'm being published. What's the big deal? You're known. Then, of course, as you start to get popular, I realize there are ratings in the paper. And then as I'm looking at the ratings, it happened one day, just casually, as you go, you'd get your pace thing, and you'd go down to take it down to finance, and then they'll pay you. And one day,
in cash.
Yeah, in cash. And one day, one of the guys just kind of called me because we didn't have faces then, So you have a really strong byline, but nobody knows what you look like. And so one day I'm passing through the office, and I can't remember who it was, but he called me and says, "Hey, by the way, have you ever looked at the ratings?" And I said, "Oh, no." And I looked at the ratings, and I was top 3. And I was right there next to Wahome Mutai and, not Wahome Mutai, because Wahome Mutai had passed by then. Mutai Ngunyi and
yes.
Philip Ochin.
Wow.
And the guy says, "Dude, you need to be, you're highly rated here. You need to be thinking about it." So, of course, I start that conversation with our editors. And, in a hierarchical place like Nation, come on, man, know your place. You're going nowhere.
Yeah.
But then there was a friend of mine called Shege. I always remember Shege. Shege then advises me. At the time, Shege was doing some, he was in the theater scene, And he says among one of the people in the theater was one person who was a really good lawyer. And he started kind of advocating for a lot of artists, learning them how to just basically fight for their rights. And Shege introduces me to this lawyer. And this lawyer advises me how to fight for my rights. Like, this is how you make a case. And he advised me, and he said, and contractually, this is how you make a case. And I then argued for the next 6 months. And before you know it, I've moved from a guy I think was being paid municipal to almost 100K per column. And my life just changed from, not like 20K per column, at the time when I used to get probably 3K or something of the sort, And I remember then I was making about 100. I was living off four columns a month. I could live off 4 columns a month. And it just suddenly changed, And then suddenly I was in a good position. I learned how to, ratings, you can, you make a case for yourself, you're bringing money to the company and you can fight back, And that's when it changed. But before that, no.
I hope that you are enjoying that episode, people of the internet. Everybody says there is no job, and that is true. Also, that was me 10 years ago. The problem is that everybody is trying to get a job in their own town, in their own city, in their marketplace. They ask friends for jobs, mothers call uncles, uncles call fathers, but there are no jobs, right? Let me tell you what no one is telling you. Jobs migrated online. What I actually mean is there are many, many jobs around the world, and there is no one to do them. I have worked for a long time online, I think more than 10 years. I work for Americans, I work for Europeans, I work for the Chinese, the Australian, Canadians, the Ugandans, name all of them. And last year, I had a eureka moment. I said to myself, you know what? I should compile what I have been doing for the last 15 years. So in 2024, I wrote a book called Gold Mine, 18 Side Hustles for Africans. And it sold a lot of copies. In fact, sometimes I was receiving 500 orders in a day. In 2025, something happened. AI came. I think in 2025, AI came. AI came in 2024, but in 2025, it is here with us. And people say AI is taking away their jobs. And for me, I'll say false. There are actually AI jobs. Now, mimi ni nani? I created more jobs. We now have in my book 25 online and offline side hustles that you can do anywhere in the world, whether you are in the village, whether you are in your small town, whether you're in a marketplace, whether you are in your house, you can do them. In this powerful volume 2, I share 25 new actionable online hustles specifically researched and tailored for Africans. My new book provides clear step-by-step guidance, drawing from my extensive experience and research, including the mistakes I have made and lessons I have learned over 15 years in this online job market. You can become an executive assistant to busy folks in Europe, America, and Canada. You can also get paid for tasks like watching videos and taking online surveys. There are many of them, and they're in my book. You can also build a business as a virtual assistant, start an e-commerce without a shilling. You can also become an affiliate marketer or an online English tutor. And you can also do tens of AI jobs, and they're all in these books. If you have a job, that is fine, but I know around you there are so many people that are always looking for jobs and at home watching Netflix. Buy this book for your brother, for your sister, for your mother, cousin, husband, who is back at home all day, all night watching Netflix. Okay? Buy it for your friends. That friend who is always asking you for cash, you can buy this book for them. All the information is in the description below. You can also inbox me, you can WhatsApp me, or you can go to my website, which is oduorjagero.co.ke. The book is only 1,000 Kenya shillings. Or if you're anywhere around the world, the book is $10. So thank you very much. Back to programming. When you speak about Mantok, when it starts, you sort of do not know what is going on here, but you come to learn about it. So when I ask you, I think I want to ask you about Mantok, just to tell me what the thinking about the people that started Mantok. I don't know whether you're the one who came up with the word Mantok, or it is the newspaper. And so what was it all about?
I didn't come up with the word. It was, in fact, the original Mantok had 3 writers. You know, there was me, there was Tony Muchama, who everybody knows, and there's a guy called, he's died now, Alan Kopar. He was called Clyde Morvitt. He passed on early in the years. And so Mantok was pretty much, remember, the Saturday Mag was basically a women's magazine. So Mantok was just basically, we're just supposed to sit there and to give a alternative view, you know? And it was supposed to be satirical, it was supposed to be funny. And remember, socially at the time, men were being considered. That's what I was saying, the separation of the two. There was the political class and the elite of the men who were like in charge of society, you know, the big men. And then there's the rest of you guys who just basically, you know, are groveling in the corners there, you know, don't have enough money, you have no proper status in life, and the women are now overtaking you, so, you know your place. So my job was just pretty much to satirize and, you know, make light about, you know, the struggles of the man. But as of course, I'm an anthropologist, you know. Generally, we dig deeper, you know. So I started digging deeper and I realized, oh shit, this is a really societal problem. So I'm using satire to talk to quite deep issues. And men started, started giving them a voice. They're like, no shit, this guy is talking about my crisis, you know, because the idea that we were being defined by this thing of this obsession for success, and if you're not arriving there, and you've got now women coming who have now, the roles have changed. It's no longer assumed that the man is the breadwinner in a house. No, you're equal incomes, and more often than not, your wife's career is more steady than yours. You know, so I'm talking to this crisis, and but at the time I'm talking to it as, you know, remember columns it's like a beat. So like it's not as though you're thinking about things like 5. It's like every week something happens. Okay, what's the story there? I'm going to make a story out of it. You know, you're somewhere. What's the story there? I'm going to make. So you're not really thinking about it in totality. Is the way it looks now in hindsight. You're just doing, I need to do a beat, and I need to keep it around the voice of men. But about 5-6 years in, about 4-5 years in, you know, remember you're doing it weekly, so it's quite a beat. And there's a lot of pressure, you know, there's a lot of hate coming through. People take it really personally, you know, letters to the editor, you know, sometimes you go out in events and people discover who you are. People are quite, you know, aggressive. And then on the other hand, there's a lot of men who are now trying to treat you like a celebrity, you know, and I wasn't really into that whole celebrity culture thing, you know. So you say you're a name, or you're the Oyunga Pala, you know, and it's kind of trying to balance it out. So I was forced to really interrogate what's happening, and a couple of letters came through to me, and I think one particular one, I don't remember who the writer was, but they said, what are you doing with your platform? You have an incredibly beautiful platform. What are you doing with it? And it really made me think, like, what am I doing with this platform? Like, what's the point? Am I just being a jester here, you know, a guy who just makes people laugh, or am I actually making a substantial contribution? And then when I started now saying, okay, what's the actual issue? This whole idea of like, limao, kanyagao, you know, that was the whole mandate, you know, just hard hit, lima. And I was like, hey, this is not sustainable. You know, because it's not a single story. There's a complexity to it. And when I started trying to explore this complexity, you know, starting to get a little bit deeper, then the problems begin. The real problems begin. It's like, come on, man, like, where's the fire? You know, like, where is it? You know,
where is the fire?
Yeah, and I'm trying to like really, because I'm following literature. I'm trying to do good writing. Like, this is the issue. Like, we have to address it. And at some point, I just decided, I'm just going to write what I know. And that's when as I started to realize, and I started to look at the whole environment, I realized, okay, this so-called gender battle is a setup. You know, we've been set up against each other. And I didn't want to be any part of it anymore. And I moved back because I looked at my life holistically, and I was relating to women in very different ways, in ways that were actually quite healthy. And I said, no, I can't be representative of something I don't live.
Yeah.
And that's when my writing started to veer towards more societal rather than just, what did the woman say? Yeah.
I want to ask you a question. Lima is coming from the men. What are the women telling you in the letters?
Oh, like you like get out of town, like
Really?
idiot, you know, like who gives you the right? Like, how dare you? That's what it is, literally. It's like straight out hostility. That's what I'm saying. If you're in this business, get a thick skin, my brother. You know, no, there's no filtering. It's like it all coming out, and even it got to a point I didn't have to say nothing, just your mere appearance. It's you. You know, you'd meet people who would not even shake your hand.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, like people took it personally. The satire flew right past them. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was the newspaper seeing these letters? Oh, these letters would come to your inbox?
Oh, the Mr. loves controversy. It's more readers. They love it. They lap that stuff up, man. They send you right back into the fire.
That's where we want you to be.
Yeah.
That's where you should come.
Yeah. Sales are looking good. I like it. Reactions.
Yeah. As you tone down, what is your relationship with the newspaper?
It's funny. I was very lucky. I was very lucky that my editor got me. You know, like Rhoda let me grow. You know, because editors can hold you down in the sense of, oh, this is who you are. But Rhoda was kind of, and it's in a very kind of way. Now you look at it, like she's like she reminds me of like an auntie figure. Should whine a lot about Oyunga, and she speaks Luo as well. So like Dikango, Oyunga, you know,
Yeah.
Oyunga, you're gonna kill me. What is it like? And
Yeah.
should, but it was a very kind of, but there's a loving touch about. She allowed me to experiment, you know, because I was trying to do things that hadn't been done before. You know, I was trying to write about things that hadn't quite, not in the tone that had been written.
Yeah.
But Rhoda gave me space, and she really published everything. I think she only rejected one story of mine ever.
Yeah.
In the time we were with her, you know, and so that was my. Now that I think about it in hindsight, because I've now worked as an editor, Rhoda protected me.
Yeah.
You know, like she allowed me to evolve. You know, because it's 10 years, man. 10 years you change, my brother. 10 years, man. You're not, especially 20s into your 30s. You know, it's life changes, but she allowed me to evolve in a way that was quite nice. You know, and so by the time I got to the tail end of it, I'm the one who made the choice. That okay, I think this is enough. I don't think I could add anything else to this discourse, and I left. Yeah.
What was living like? Because I'm going to talk to you about death. Was it like death?
But of course now in hindsight,
Yeah.
it I mean it makes for a great metaphor, but at the time it was freeing. Because it's a lot of pressure. I mean, like you now, you know, you gotta stay on the ball, brother. You gotta stay on the ball. You know, like show after show. So it's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. And so when you come out of that, you're just like, whew, okay, I can start again. And at the time, you know, the internet had come, and we think we're going to make success as bloggers. You know, I could transfer, you know, and then get my direct income. I had no business sense whatsoever, you know, assuming that I completely misunderstood the gravity of an institution like Nation. You know, I went in on my own without any support. So the first months were difficult. Nothing happening. So first months into 6 months, nothing happening. Like, no, yeah, you have a lot of meetings in Yaya over coffee. Guys are telling you this is the business plan. You're gonna make it, but nothing happens. And then this is now, and I write about this in the book, is in the midst of this hassle, I'm going around, you know, I was going to Langata, and that time I used to ride a motorbike. Yeah. And I'm doing a lot of hustling. I'm writing for magazines. I'm writing all over the place. Huh? I think I've got like almost 3 or so columns going at the same time.
Yeah. This is after Nation.
Nation, you know, and I'm doing something for drum magazine called The Motorcycle Diaries. Yeah. This is a magazine called Eve. I used to do something called Adam Speak, you know. And so
Adam speak, that is Carol Mondays.
Yeah, Carol Mondays, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, by the time it was Mundia running it, before Carol took over. And I'm riding all over the place. And so motorbike has become kind of my identity, you know? So I ride a motorbike all over the place. And on State House Road, I'm coming down, you know, going towards just State House, after the processional way, a guy in a Hilux truck knocks me, you know?
Yeah.
You know, like literally, boom, like, knocks me. It was one of those things, I braked, and the guy was too close to me, so he knocks me. So I find myself losing control, like heading towards that truck, you know?
You were in your car?
Oh, no, on a motorcycle.
On
a motorcycle.
Okay.
You know? So now there's a truck in front of me, and there's a Hilux pickup, you know, the double cabins.
Yes.
So the truck in front of me brakes, it's also brake, but this guy, his distance was too close, and he knocks me. So I'm knocked off the bike is going one direction, I'm on the tarmac, and this guy is still coming at me. So he literally knocks me, hits me, and I end up under the sump guard, barely miss the tire, you know, like by inches, a miracle completely.
He's also trying to control himself.
Yeah, him is trying to brake. But you know when a car brakes, it goes down like this, you know, like suspend. So I'm finding myself squeezed literally under the sump, you know. And it's like big bang. So I literally thought I died, you know, like in my mind. And I write about this incident. I just thought, okay, this is it. It's done. And so the question that comes to my mind, hence the title of the story, is this how I die? And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I mean, on tarmac, like here, like State House Road. Like I used to live just close to the place, Tetu. And so by the time this guy reverses off me, and I realize that I'm still breathing, is when now this processing starts, you know, and I'm rushed to Aga Khan, you know, and
in the Hilux.
No. An emergency ambulance comes. First of all, there's a major jam there. You know, there's a jam there for a bit. I'm lying on the tarmac. There's a guy who had witnessed. He thought I died. You know, and because later on I went to the site and the guy says, "Well, kufa." You know, because the way he saw the accident says there's no way that guy's going to survive. So there's an emergency, an ambulance. The cops come because it's right next to State House. So there's a lot of activity. And then I was ambulance taken to Aga Khan. By some miracle, by some fortune, I didn't break any bones. Literally, I just had flesh wounds. So those guys look at me, there's a flesh wound there, they give me the treatment for it. There's a bit of aching and stuff. And I'm released literally after the first day. And I go home and start the recovery process. Now, to speak to your thing, is now in reflection, because after that, then I moved to Shags. Just like tired of Nairobi, I sell my bike and I just moved to Shags. And for me, then, that's when it was like the multiplicity of death.
Yes.
Because I've lost my status. At the time I was doing Adam, I've also resigned as Adam. I no longer have a column. You know, so all of the things that defined me, the motorcycle, which was like a big part of my identity, I've been told, dude, if you want to live long, sell that motorbike. You know, so all of those things, Nairobi that has been my hub, all of these things I had to drop, and I'm going Shags almost to start again. So in a way, that was my like first major death.
Yeah.
And then I had to go to the village to kind of rebuild myself up again, you know. And in the village now I start the simple life. And from the village is why even my column, if you look at Crazy Kenyans, the column I wrote in what do you call it? In the Standard, completely different voice.
While you're in the village?
I was in the village. Because I started writing about incidents as I was saying in the village. I was looking around and I called a guy called Ted Malanda. And I told Ted, man, there's a lot of stuff happening here. Just yesterday, my cousins, a python came to their house and they chucked at it. 2 men chucked at a python with a panga. And I'm like, man, these are the man stories that we need to be writing. And Ted has started something called Crazy Kenyans. And I thought, this would be a nice touch.
It was a pull-out?
It was a pull-out. It used to come on Mondays.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So then I started writing a completely different column. But this was just my way of saying, I'm back again. I'm building a new identity outside of the man talk identity. Yeah.
They also the other death that I want to ask you about, the death of who you were, what people thought you were. When you are hit by the motorcycle, you go back to the village. Are you thinking in your head, oh, my God, I am not the Oyunga Pala that people used to know, the one that they used to ask to come to the evening parties? Yeah. Did that happen to you?
Oh yeah, and anybody in a celebrity position now, I tell you, be careful, be careful. This shit is fleeting.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, no, completely. And Nairobi is beautiful in that way. Like they drop you like a hot potato quickly. Like we're moving on. Where are you in Shags? Okay. What's happening there? No. Are you like farming, like, are you exporting flowers or anything of the sort? No, just growing Uganda and mihogo. That's it. It was done. It was done. Luckily for me, I didn't get caught up in my celebrity hype.
Okay.
I had a cast of real friends, you know?
Did you?
Yeah, who didn't abandon me. You know, that was the one luck I had. I never got caught up in the hype. You know, I always understood that. Because we've come from...
And what is getting caught in the hype?
Getting caught in the hype is actually believing that you're a celebrity. You know what I mean? Like, you actually wear that badge and you start behaving like, you know? It's really about the performance of status.
Can I tell you something, Oyunga Pala, that I'm really struggling with it right at the moment?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people ask me, Jagero, why are you not walking it? Why not being who we are seeing? I mean, you're such a great platform, but we don't see you where celebrities are.
Yeah, I mean, and thank God. I mean,
and I'm like, is something wrong with me? Why am I not jumping out of my skin and doing what people want me to do?
No, it's something right with you, actually. And it's something you need to really embrace. It's something right with you. Because the thing is, hype is, I mean, it's fluff, you know? And my sister, the one who first described it, you can't quite hold it. Like, what? It's just perception. And if you insist on the realm of reality always, you will find that it's a lot more grounding and it lasts a lot longer. It's like, because you're being forced to perform into something you're not. And imagine all of this celebrity, it's an illusion.
Yeah.
People have watched, I don't know, P. Diddy and something else, and they're trying to do their Kenyan version of that stuff. That's showbiz. It's not real. And so when people tell me, why aren't you behaving like that? I'm like, I'm not a celeb.
Yeah.
I'm just popular.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. A celebrity is an industry. You know, it's a performance. You know, that's why, you know, there's the cars. There's a point to it. It's a performance.
The other day I was in a restaurant and we came out of the restaurant and the guy looked at my car and said, "The same car? Oh, 5 years ago?"
Yeah. No, because they're not tangible. They don't make a difference in a... Yes. Okay, here's a good way to look at it. Perhaps it's a better way to look at it. It's ultimately the crisis of validation. If as a man, you're validated on the inside, if your inner stuff is okay, you don't need outside validation. The problem is people on the outside looking in are so used to people validating themselves through symbols. So they expect of all of us in those positions of kind of status to play to that tune. But if you have inner validation, the inner stuff is solid, then the outer stuff never affects you. And trust me, brother, cherish that. Cherish it. Because if you lose that, then now you're like a what do you call it? You're like what's the thing they used to call it? Tango, you know, like you're always moving up and down to the whims of the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I want to go into a little bit into death, and I want to read a story that you wrote on the May 28, 2025, and that is, I don't know whether I'll call it paragraph 2. She was talking about real tears, the kind that come from deep inside and discombobulate us, casting aside all pretense of decency and control. For one raw moment, repression refuses and we release. This is a society where silence is expected, where dignity is found in suppression. I knew this unruly grief intimately. I just never thought I had permission to express it, the kind that doesn't care of manners and of sensibilities. And then I go back to your book, right? Because that's now we're going to talk about now. And I want to read something that you write in your introduction of the book. The narration of, we live in the age of death dwellers. I want to ask you what that means, the last word. But I will skip that and go to paragraph 2, where you say, the narration of death and life is also part of our every death notices. The obituaries where we are called upon to notice the ones we've lost. Life and death are part of our daily reality, particularly for anyone who takes notice of obituaries. These death notices are narrations, the obituaries that remind us to pay attention to those we have lost. Each name tells a story and encourages us to remember the deceased and to reflect on our lives. You first of all, I don't know whether it is your father, was that your first death, that when you're a grown-up, when you're growing up, was it?
Not really. There's my grandfather.
Okay.
I lost my grandfathers, both grandfathers before, but it was very removed, because there's everybody only coming in on the day of the actual funeral, and it's very removed. But my father is really the first one where I realized loss. Like, because, your grandfather's an older man, older men are supposed to pass. My dad is dying at 58 or so.
You're pretty young.
Yeah, pretty young, and he's just enjoying his retirement. He's thriving. He looks good. He wasn't sick or anything of the sort. So, heart attack, and it's the first time that I feel the gravity of loss. So that's the first. That's what switches the awareness from like, oh, people can die, and I write this as well. I say, at no point had I calculated that this guy could actually die. It had never occurred to me. It's just that we're going to grow old together, I'm going to give him grandkids. That's all I knew. So that's the first shock that then now takes me tumbling. And maybe if I spoke then to the unruliness of grief. What do you remember the name of the article? Then I can remember the article where that reference came from. And was it unruly grief? Was this,
no, what is when sorrow refuses silence?
Oh, when sorrow refuses silence.
Unruly grief.
Okay, yeah, that one. And so when my dad dies, all we know is stoicism. I say this a lot, because you're not supposed to. I mean, if you cry, it's just like a tear. I don't know, you're in your shades, just like a tear.
Yeah.
But you stand firm. You're like, we look like soldiers. You think we're security. And if you saw the pictures now you look angry, and hard. But I'm looking around the men, and people are just mirim, like people are just crying, rolling themselves, it's almost pathetic. And I never knew I had permission to do that. So I didn't know how to cry. I was like, how come I can't cry like those guys? And this isn't like my father. It was years later, literally, it took, even my brother dies, and I don't know how to, quote unquote, cry. It takes my sister dying for me to finally learn how to break down. I don't know, just, ugly tears. That's sort of like, you cry for you bawl it out for a good 10 or so minutes. Other guys look at you and they step aside and they let you. And I finally found the power of it. And I was not just crying for my sister. I was crying for all my loved ones, And so I started to look, and I realized then that we are socialized, especially as men, not to do that. Men who come from a much more simpler backgrounds, who don't claim modernity, they cry. Giyuak. You know what I mean? They know how to cry. The strongest of men have known how. Those of us who are kind of been modernized have forgotten how to cry. We've become very Europeanized in the way we express griefs. And we've gotten this whole idea that you have to be kind of stoic. Don't shed a tear. And if you do, it has to be just one, that you can wipe off with a tissue. And the other thing about death doulas, and this is kind of why it ties in. A doula, it comes from birth, so a birth doula is like when the woman who helps you deliver,
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the woman who helps you deliver.
The one that walks you
through until the child comes out, like a doula, almost like a midwife, but not quite, like more encompassing. The midwife comes at the last stage,
yes,
but the doula is with you throughout the pregnancy to birth. Now, this is the death version. And
that is why it threw me off, because I know what a doula is. But then when you say death.
And now in the Western cultures, because they have this end of life process where people know they're going to die, like in a hospice. And so this person has a terminal disease, they're going to die in about 3 months or so. And then a death doula comes in to walk you through to the end. Okay, this is the dying process, let go, they wait. And that's what they do. They walk you through to the end. And that particular death doula, that Alua, is a black woman in America, she was one of the first ones who made me understand what the process was. And I started realizing, in essence, we had lost that function in our society, because now there's nobody to guide us through loss and death. There's a so-called priest, but priests, and I've talked to quite a few, and my cousins are a priest, over a beer on the side. These guys are clueless. They've got a couple of verses, but this is about it. But the whole emotional play, they don't know what to do. They'll tell you most, God is in charge, it will be well. That's about it. But that whole spiritual guide needs somebody has died, or somebody is dying, somebody in a dying process. And the person who's there to stand alongside, not just the dying, but also the family, to make them understand what's happening, that's lost. So my whole book is an attempt to kind of stand in that gap and tell guys that learn through my own journey. So I'm not telling you something that, okay, I read this as a theory somewhere, but I literally experienced it. And in particular, the last death that I went through, because I literally walked my sister to the edge, until she transitioned. And so I realized, okay, this is a function that has been lost within our society.
You named the book Strength and Sorrow. So wordplay, does it have an inner meaning?
Yeah, it does. Huh? It's the original title is The Men We Lost.
The Men We Lost.
Yeah, The Men We Lost. And then, of course, my sister dies. So then I'm realizing, okay, it's kind of, I can write about the men we lost, but your sister is here. So how is it going to work? Is it the people we lost? I try a couple of, because I'm thinking about loss in its totality. It's just not just the physical loss, but the many things we lose. The status, the relationship. Like if you lose a parent, it's more than just losing a father. There's a whole bunch of things are lost. And as I start to go deeper into the storytelling, I realized that I have to go into the depths of sorrow that was untouched.
Yes.
Because you keep it kind of at the surface there, like you don't go there, you don't want to think about it too deeply, you don't want to linger there, you're moving on already. So as I start to sink deeper into the sorrow, and especially the ugliness of the sorrow, because not all of my people died well.
Yes.
They didn't die beautifully. They're not in the hospital bed saying, oh, Ritu, it's been a very nice journey. None of that, It was ugly, it was sudden, it was abrupt. And so sorrowful, and we want to move on quickly. And so as I start to sit into the sorrow, depth of the sorrow, and it takes me a long time to write this, particularly the family stories. The other stories are written beforehand, but the family stories take me a very long time to get into the depths of it. So because there's two fears. One is that you might represent it, like you might not give it the authentic representation of what happened. And two, that when you put the story out there, people run away with it and make capital out of it in a way that can actually be embarrassing and quite damaging for you. So there was that problem. So I needed to find that authenticity of like, what is my sorrow? What are the depths of my sorrow? And in going to the depth of it, like when you finally I was able to touch it, then I realized, oh damn, I become so much stronger. I'm able to talk about it now. So then I realized there's a sense of an alchemy that was happening here, like a kind of transformation. Is that if you truly go into sorrow, if you truly accept the brokenness, the surrender to the brokenness, then you actually rise up in strength. So and this for me has been the perpetual lesson of actually the grandmothers. The grandmothers who have gone into the depth of deep sorrow, and especially a grandmother who was like, I write a case of a grandmother in this book who was buried 3 generations. When you outlived by the time you're burying grandchildren as a grandmother, but somehow they keep going, they're strong, and they're the ones supporting everybody else. So I realized the real strength that I need to kind of embrace was this strength that comes from the transformation after you've completely surrendered to sorrow.
Yes.
So hence strength and sorrow. Yeah.
Okay. In 2013, you were talking to Magunga, Magunga.
Yeah.
And at the tail end of the interview, he asked you what is going on. And you talked to him about a book that is coming out. Is it the same book?
No, God, no. I have so many unfinished books I have so many unfinished books. I could never finish. Even before this book came through, there was a novel on the works. I literally finished a whole full draft. It never came out. At the time when it, and I'm so glad I didn't write it then. At the time, I was trying to put together the Mantok journey.
Yeah.
I was trying to put together the Mantok journey, and then there was a whole, what does it mean to be a modern? I had this obsession with something called the modern African guy, and I wanted to do kind of a chronicles of what, pretty much what Jacob are doing right now, a bit, something like that. It was like in that mode, but I could never grapple in it. It just never worked, And at some point, I just kind of gave up on this book writing process. And it's not until I moved to the Netherlands, and suddenly the COVID years, when it was really quiet, that I started going back into writing again, like attempting a book. Yeah.
Going to Netherlands, was that something that wasn't planned for a long time, or it was another accident?
Accident. Never. I call it the Kano of the North. It's a flat country. It's very flat. Huh? A bit like Kano Plains. Huh? No, it was never in the books at all. Not even crossed my mind. In fact, my whole understanding of Schiphol was always, if I'm going to, because my siblings are in America, it's like we're going to America, try not to pass through Amsterdam, because Schiphol security is terrible.
Yeah.
That was literally, that's how, there was nothing in Amsterdam at all. But my wife gets a job with a multinational, a media multinational, you know, and we have a young kid, and we're kind of just, because I married late, and we're figuring, okay, this is a great career opportunity. My work is very portable, you know, so that's how I end up in Amsterdam.
Great. But because this is the picture of your sister?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
It's rendered, huh?
It's rendered.
Yeah.
It's rendered. Yeah, it's rendered. She looks a lot with an American woman. There is a lady called, I forget her name. She's very much in the media. Yeah. But then, does it take a lot from the story for people who have not read the book to talk about why this death was particularly very painful and very close to you? Are you able to speak a little bit about it?
Yeah, I can speak about it at least in terms of broadly.
Yes, broadly.
Yeah, broadly. In the sense that I think what makes this particular death more is that I knew it was coming, but I didn't know when. You know, so you're in a state of suspended anxiety. You know, when somebody tells you, "Anyato,"
yes,
but you don't know when.
Yeah.
Then number two, we're living in two separate countries. So she lives in Uganda, I live in the Netherlands. And so you're on the phone every day, and you don't know if this is going to be the last phone call. You don't know if this. So you have to live in the present, knowing anything could happen. At the same time, it's a race against time, because you're trying to get a medical intervention. So the combination of all of that, so the stress of just distance, the stress, and it happens for a long time. Because when the medical emergency first happens, she's given 3 days to live.
Yeah.
She's like told, if we don't get your sister to Nairobi in 3 days, she's done. And then it goes on for like 11 months. So even at the tail end, we're thinking, and people who have lost people will understand this thing, is when somebody's about to die, they seem to revive. You know, they suddenly seem to be strong and energetic and everything else just before. And people will tell you, especially people with sickness, who go through long terminal sicknesses, there's that last burst of life. And just about September into October, she has this burst of life, and I think, woo, we have conquered it. We're now making a plan to go to Cuba for the last treatment, and then we have a miracle. And then, incidentally, the whole plan was to write a book about that miraculous survival. So when it happens, and it happens in the way it does, because my sister, at least this is the part I can reveal, she wanted to be cremated. And the conditions were such that cremation was actually the best option, you know? So going through all of that without the support, because typically at funerals we have the support of family. But here I am alone. I'm in Uganda at a time when there's an Ebola crisis, you know? I have to gather like literally friends and resources from people I haven't seen in years, you know? Luckily, thank God for brotherhood, you know? My brothers just came through, you know? Not my actual physical family brothers, but friends that I'd known from different walks of life, you know? And the whole stress of it. But then here's the thing. You do what you do as a sibling, you know? You do your duty. You do it right by family, you know? But then I started to unravel afterwards in ways that I could understand, because they say, I guess it's psychomatic, when your mental state starts to affect your physical body. And I even have an opportunity. I'm attacked by TB, so I'm taken into an isolation ward, and I don't even find out that I have TB because until little I'm spitting blood, you know. And so it's the unraveling that did me a number, because typically with other funerals, you know, there's the exhaustion, you might have got some malaria, that's about it, you know. But this unraveling that seemed to not end, you know, like I'm literally 3, 4, 5 months, I'm just literally wasting away. First of all, with disease, but in terms of my mental state, I'm just unraveling. And so in trying to make sense of this, I realized I had to get to the bottom of it, and I'm an artist. So we fall back to what we know. We start to write it out. Yeah.
This book is so beautiful. I mean, for people who, particularly myself as a Luo, and having lost so many people in my family, this book especially touched a nerve. And I think for people of the internet who heard of Oyunga Pala, but did not get to right now, if you go to the Nation website, your articles are so scattered.
Yeah, I
They're
can
all over the
imagine.
place.
Yeah.
You know, but if you want to know who Oyunga Pala was, then you have to pick this copy. At the tail end of this book, he says that this book is a homage to those who we have lost, whose presence, even in absence, continue to shape my understanding of strength and sorrow. Their memories guided my pen, and their enduring spirits infused every word. This work is a testament to their lives and the profound lessons they imparted. So it's a beautiful book, and everybody agrees. Strength and Sorrow has been met with a strong positive reception, both from literary peers and readers in Kenya. Upon its release, the memoir garnered high praise from notable writers, critics, and public figures for its courage, cultural significance. Yvonne Wood, award-winning author of Dust and the Dragonfly Sea, lauded Pala's work for its rare bravery and poetic insight. She described Strength and Sorrow as a map through grief's wild terrain, where the soul stands raw before the unbearable, the loss of those we love. She commended Pala for refusing to look away from death's reality, and for proving what it means to live fully by facing loss head-on. Jackson Biko, obviously the man that you literally passed over the pen to, says something very interesting about the book. Biko praised Strength and Sorrow for crafting an intimate vocabulary for our most universal experience, that is lost, that everyone who has been left behind must eventually ask. I snatched moments with these pages in barbershop chairs, school waiting rooms, gym parking lots, only setting them aside repeatedly to confront my own mortality. Joel Anam, your friend and a journalist who has been doing a lot of investigative work, said, I found myself reflecting on my own brushes with death, its rawness, its deep cruelty, and its finality. One day, enjoy the lady that you had a very beautiful interview with. Says that, argues that contemporary Kenya has lost touch with the practices of collective mourning and collective sorrow. She says, readers are reminded that sorrow is a crucial element of conviction, persistence, and strength. So I think it is a beautiful book.
Thank you.
So I just want to ask you, if you want to buy this book, how do we get it, Mr. Oyunga?
Okay, right now we're stocked in all major Nairobi bookshops, so like Textbook Center, pretty much all branches within Nairobi. And then we had Bookstop Yaya, we had Half-Priced Books, all their 5 branches. We had Somanami, which I visited for the first time yesterday in Ngara. The stockers there, who am I forgetting? And then we are, of course, at Nuria in both branches, in Nairobi in Moi Avenue and in the Nyali branch in Mombasa.
Yeah.
The other way you can actually get the book is that if you just go directly to the website, oyungapala.com, there's a pop-up there, and you can just order there, and it will be delivered to your address. Yeah. It's also in Kisumu because you have to represent. It's in Kisumu. It's at TBC in Kisumu at United Mall, but it's also at Lolwe Books. Really nice bookshop owned by Troy Onyango, who you might know.
Troy Onyango, yeah. Troy, do you see each other a lot? He's across in London.
No, he's across the pond. I know Europeans are strange people. They police their borders.
Yeah.
So, but Troy has a really beautiful bookshop run by his sister called Lolwe Books, Alpha House. First floor, room number 17. So it's available.
Are you gonna be doing a reading in Kisumu, or you have?
I've done already. I did already. Just listed this past Wednesday.
Oh,
I did already.
Great. All right. So thank you very much, Mr. Oyunga Pala. It's been beautiful having a chat with you for about 1 hour and 10 minutes. Yeah. It's been beautiful. Thank you very much for writing again for us, for bringing back so the Gen Zs like this one who doesn't know about you can actually now read your book. Yeah. People of the internet, thank you very much for taking your time and listening to another podcast with myself and Oyunga Pala. 80% of you have not subscribed to my Mr. Oyunga's 80% are reading are not subscribers. So I want to plead with you that if you are, the reason why Oyunga Pala came here was because of the numbers that he saw. So if President Ruto wants to come here, if Barack Obama wants to come here, you got to show him the numbers. Exactly. And showing the numbers means that you subscribe. So that is my only ask, that you subscribe, hit on that notification bell, so that when I bring another great guest like Oyunga Pala, you will be notified. Until another episode, bye for now.
Thank you very much.